The Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special.
Lacrimosa.
Castlevania, Symphony of the Night.
This is staying in.
I, for one, am disappointed in you all. This is our Christmas episode, and not one of you has put in the effort. I am sat here in a Christmas jumper and a Christmas hat, sipping a cup of Christmas hot chocolate, and none of you have done anything.
Well,
Shame
can I
on
just
you.
say, Dan, you can't see my trousers, you can't see the back of my shirt, and you can't see my underwear.
Well,
so
But yeah, that kind of defeats the object of being on camera then, if I can't see anything there.
yeah, but you don't know how Christmassy this shirt is below the cut-off
All right,
line
show
of
me.
Zoom.
Show me.
No, I'd rather.
And I've got a picture of Saint Nick tattooed on my arse. Do you want me to get that out for the camera?
Yes.
I'm getting Christmassy, but it would just be too much. And also, I've only just got my first Christmas jumper, thanks to Kris last year, and I think I'd just get too warm.
Oh dear. I don't feel Christmassy at the moment. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I don't feel Christmassy at the moment.
That's all right.
What can I do to get into a Christmassy spirit? What are the things that you do that basically tells your body I'm in a Christmas mood?
My body.
Yeah.
Well, quite famously, I've read A Christmas Carol every year around this time for the last.
Famously.
I want to.
Yeah.
Famously,
Yeah.
for the last 12 years, I think. Yeah, so that's usually my big right, it's Christmas now. A Christmas Carol's coming out.
Mm. And roughly when does that happen in the year? Like what week? Like first week of December, second week of December?
There's not really. I wouldn't say a specific time because it depends if I've got other books going on at that time. Like I'm waiting to finish a book and then I'll pick it up. But it's always read before Christmas and maybe a couple of sometimes a week before maybe to really get myself in the mood.
So you're primed.
I think the one thing that really gets me in the Christmas mood at the moment is the Exit Games Advent Calendar.
Oh, yes.
That's become my new, it's Christmas now. I get to play with this big, massive Advent Calendar and do a little puzzle every day. That is really I think Christmas is the time for indulgence, and it really feels like that's a really indulgent thing that I'm doing every day.
See, for me, It's a similar thing, but I probably start feeling a little bit Christmassy around about the start of November, because I do like me and my wife, we will kind of make our own advent calendars for each other, and it's got to the point now where I put a lot of work into it, and so it's around the start of November that those kind of plans really start coming into place, and I actually have to put them into action. So this year I've done I've got all these little kind of fabric stockings, and in each of them there's a clue to a hiding place where there's a special treat that day. So she opens the thing, has to read the kind of clue or riddle and then find it, but obviously that takes a lot of time. So from the beginning of November is when I'm really starting to buy the stuff in that I need to get, start thinking of, in terms of this year anyway, start thinking of clues and all that stuff. And so by the time Advent actually hits, I'm in a very Christmassy place. So it is the Advent calendar that kind of really gets me in that mood, but that mood starts probably a month prior.
Month?
Well, yeah, because it takes a lot of work.
Sounds like a lot of work.
That's a lot of work. Chris?
So, because my birthday falls in November, I can't start thinking about Christmas. I literally just blank it out until November the 23rd, day after my birthday, because it irritates me otherwise that, Chris week is eclipsed by the festivities. And, I was born 4 weeks earlier than I should have been. Can you imagine? I would have been slap bang right in the kind of the main zone of Christmas if all things had gone to plan. Yeah, that's what you call it. So for me, what first thing I do is listen to carols from the choir at Cambridge, King's College carols. I really love that, particularly O Holy Night, which I first heard in Home Alone, like most people did.
True.
That for me, carols and stuff. We were at a Christmas market the other day, hearing a brass band play Good King Wenceslas. I don't know. For me, it's become quite musical. Christmas has that. For me, it's something that is an aural tradition.
That's interesting. I think the other thing for me is the me to food ratio. Like when that starts to really decrease to the fact where if I don't have to get up for food, right, we're really Christmasing now. We are full on in the Christmas mood. Yeah, as soon as the me to food ratio in distance is pretty much 1-to-1, we're getting our Christmas on now. What about you, Pete?
Do you do any of these things? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the Advent calendar?
Have you given your workers a Christmas off?
They work double.
Yeah. Yeah. No, okay, well, there's one thing that really screams Christmas to me, and that's Baileys.
True.
So
Good call.
So I'll have a glass or two of Baileys, maybe a few
Every day?
nights before.
Oh, right.
Well, maybe a few nights before, start then, and then, polish the bottle off, within a couple of weeks or something like that. My mother drinks an entire 1 litre bottle in a day.
Oh
my gosh.
Beans.
I know. Now, if you're not familiar with Baileys, because I am very familiar with Baileys, it is 17% alcohol by volume, so it's not mucking around, right?
No.
It's about 3 times the strength of
and
like
it's
lager, for
it's
example,
50% cream, pretty much.
That's the major problem. It's a huge amount of sugar and cream, like an absolutely gigantic amount. And so I don't know how she sleeps that evening, like just full of like, so there you go. That's one of the things that I sort of know it's Christmas.
Right. If there's one thing that signifies Christmas, it's presents.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And each year we do a lovely thing for each other, which is to buy each other presents in secret and then open them on the podcast. It's very self-indulgent. It's very navel-gazy, but hey ho, we're going to do it. So, sorry. Does anyone want to go first?
I think let's bring a little bit of Christmas cheer into Pete's life.
Yes.
And let Pete go first. I think that's how it works. So we basically put out little requests just to steer each other a little bit, don't we? So Pete, what did you ask for from Father Christmas this year?
Well, I basically said that I wanted to create strange but simple visual art for a commercial RPG material. Something to help me with that. So, for example, materials, tools, and so on. So things, because basically, folks, I'm not very visual at all in terms of, or at least I'm not able to be creative visually. I'm very, very bad at that generally.
Yeah.
Just like that, and that isn't me like, oh, I'm just no good. It's like, no, I know I'm good at certain things. I'm bad at art, and visual art, I should say. So I really wanted something that would help me with that, and because I've been doing a lot more writing recently, so I wanted to do some art to go with it, so I don't have to pay artists. But AI art's coming out now, so who cares about this? So
oh well, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Happy Christmas. So it could be anything, couldn't it? It could be anything. So I'm going to open it up. Our budget this year was £20.
£20, yes.
Thanks, Liz Truss.
It trickled down.
All right, so I've got... Oh, my goodness me. What's in here? What is in here? I've got 2 items. No, more than this. Is this actually my Christmas gift? Hold on. Yes, it is. Okay. Well, one is a copy of a game called Warborn, which is an absolutely fantastic PlayStation 4 turn-based tactics game from our friends at Red Drop and P-Cube, who are based in Bristol. Both of them are based in Bristol. And it's basically Gundam, Gundam turn-based Advance Wars, which is not quite
That's not
what
what
I
you
asked for. But that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. We'll move
But
on.
I
There's
would
more
argue the
inside.
best gifts are often.
There's more. Yeah. I like that Santa went off book for that one. That's wonderful. So what else have I got here? I've got 2 sheets of printmakers carving blocks soft cut. Create your own works of art and experiment with artisan printing techniques with this high-tech carving material.
Ooh.
It is ideal for all users, from beginners to experienced printmakers. It holds fine detail without crumbling and yet withstands the pressures of a printing press. Well, hopefully there's a printing press inside of this small Amazon delivery box as well. Hold on. Let's just have a look inside. And this is a... this is amazing. This is a SD Taster Kit Lino Cut. Discover if you love printmaking too. Be creative and carve your first lino cut.
Oh my word.
So basically, this has... it's apparently, according to SD, their mission is to encourage new artists to try printmaking.
Tick.
And this taster kit enables budding artists to create beautiful lino cuts without committing to expensive tools and equipment. So basically, you get like little carving things. You get some block material, and you get an ink roller, and you get some ink. So
Yeah.
I get to
AI
carve
art
something
can
out.
suck it.
Yeah. AI art, do one. I've got the SD taster kit.
I've got
lino
the printing press.
But what I
Yeah.
like about that piece is in terms of the kinds of RPGs you've been writing, Catcock Collection still available. I think something like a woodcut image would actually really fit into the
I
aesthetics
totally
of
agree
that.
with you.
I love
Yeah.
a kind of a woodcut image that you see in certain old books. I think that's
Yeah, I
really,
totally
really
agree with
lovely,
you.
actually.
It's super, super cool. Like, what is... Oh, this is actually a block. Oh, this is like a spare box.
Yeah, you did say block several times in the description.
Oh, yeah.
It's called a carving block.
Oh, I see. So you basically put this onto... You see, this is how bad I am at visual art.
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
And the other great thing about that, I would guess, is that if you're creating something that you're attributing to your work, because it's on a block, it's easily replicated.
Yeah.
So you can literally create it
Fact.
and then just print it and print it and print it.
Print it. I could do a load of... I was thinking about doing, and I don't know if I should record this and commit it to thing, because it might very well end up in court. But what I was thinking about doing was, inspired by something Chris's friend did, I was thinking about creating a really small one-page RPG, and printing it out and then hiding it in books in like Waterstones or the library or something like that. I was thinking about doing that, but if that does happen and the books end up in, those RPGs, an RPG somehow mysteriously ends up in the fine libraries of Bristol City, it wasn't me.
Are you going to put your name to it?
I don't know. No, probably not. Yeah, no.
Probably not.
No, probably not.
Just whittle your initials in the corner of the print.
Yeah.
Or the block.
Yeah. No one will know.
That is absolutely wonderful, and genuinely, that I have actually really been wanting to play Warborn for ages, because I've been playing Advance Wars. I've recently been
Customers who bought this also bought.
also bought Warborn, and I'm genuinely looking forward to that, because I've been, as I say, I've been wanting to play it for ages and ages and ages now. So that is a haul. Thank you so much.
Sam, you and I hung out.
Hello.
We did before I got ill.
Before you got ill, those dark times where you weren't able to make it to the previous pod, always Pete. But
Pete wasn't ill, but I was
Pete wasn't ill.
desperately sick.
As is often the case when you and I get together, it's I go, oh Sam, I'm so should we get together? Sam's like, yeah, great. I've got a stack of games we need to play, Kris. Come on. And I felt really bad because the previous time I got around to Sam's, I was actually quite knackered and quite ill. So much so, Pete, Dan, that I barely finished my dinner. Which, if you ever need an indicator that all things aren't well with Kris, that's it. And
Unless he'd given you soup.
yeah. Sam and I played a game. I can't remember what the game was that we played. Something to do with the moon.
It was Lunar Capital.
Lunar Capital.
which is actually a pretty decent little like town
It
builder
really is.
game.
It really is.
Where you're it's a 4-player game, and each player plays like a faction or like a corporation who are trying to basically inhabit or create habitats on the moon. And there's nothing in it that's really groundbreaking in a sense. You're doing quite sort of recognizable board game things. If you played any sort of village builders before, you're just picking up tokens and placing them in places in order to score like points, basically. So buildings adjacent to other buildings, or in direct like line of sight of other buildings, or placed in certain locations will get you loads of points. But I guess what's interesting about Lunar Capital is just that theme and just that direction of being on the moon, which was really enjoyable, actually.
The art style's really cute in it, isn't it, as well?
Yeah. I love the art style. And actually, it's got the one thing, Lunar Capital, in that I would appreciate in every board game from now on, please, board game publishers, designers, and distributors, is it actually has in it a page which tells you how to put everything back in the box.
Yeah, because you get a little bit of that in Stonemaier games, where on the side of the box it'll tell you how to put everything in.
Yes,
which I do quite like.
I really like. Lunar Capital is from De Vere, and they are a company that really does care about like the overall like tactility and experience of the game, like getting out of the box, unpacking it, and putting it back in. Like all of their games have that same sort of level of tactility. And Lunar Capital is no different. Like it comes with this like rocket ship which holds all the tiles in, has a little deck holder for the cards. Like every part of it is so wonderfully engineered. It's so lovely to play. I don't think it bowled me over as much as I was expecting it to, but I think definitely your mileage will vary with it. However, there is another De Vere game that I really want to share about on the podcast, because it probably is the game I've been most excited about and excited to talk about on the podcast all year. And because I'm really lucky, and through the podcast and through just general bad spending habits, I do play a lot of games, and I don't get excited about playing them all, but some games excite me. However, Lacrimosa from De Vere is one game that I've been so excited to play ever since I heard about it, because it's a game all about Mozart. And in a landscape of board games that are about dominance or war or ghosts battling and murder mysteries and, you know, sunken treasure and selling cows up at Kansas, all this kind of nonsense, to have a game that comes out and is all about the death of Mozart, like, this is going to sound really weird, but I couldn't be more excited about playing that game. And in terms of playing, it was one of the most lovely and pleasant evenings I've had, because the soundtrack was sorted, the setup was an absolute breeze. Like, me and Kris, I think, I can't speak on his behalf, but had an absolute whale of a time playing Lacrimosa. It's, again, I think like your mileage with it will vary in terms of how much you actually enjoy these types of games, because it is quite a big sort of chunky Euro game. And by that we mean you're doing a lot of things on your own personal board. You're not really interacting with the player across from you. And there's quite a lot of jostling and consideration about what you're going to do on your turn and what you're going to do next. Lots and lots of chunky different decisions. However, I will say that if you even have a passing interest in board games, I think this is a game you have to play, because the theme and the application of it and the direction of the board game is unlike anything I've ever experienced before.
And going back to that kind of thing you mentioned before, Sam, with the emphasis on tactility that De Vere has. You look at a board and it's that kind of typical Euro thing where it's quite intimidating because it looks very, very busy. But when you realise that actually that board is split into sections, and actually you're not attempting to do everything on that board in one go. That you're actually thinking, well, just for this go, I'm going to do this section. And that's determined in part by the cards you've got, which have a dual purpose. And every player gets a little board, and where you slot that card and you do slot it in, it's very satisfying into those balls at the top or the bottom, and it just slots in beautifully. That's like, I'm committed to doing this action. Yeah. Insert a musical metaphor there. As Sam says, Mozart wrote like over 600 pieces of music in his life. And can you imagine, this composer has died more or less in, I think it was like poverty or something.
It was.
And all these other composers, me and Sam, have got together to try and finish their works. So yes, Sam and I are competing with each other, and I don't know if you found this, Sam, it was a bit of like, oh yeah, he's gone there, I wanted to do that. Okay, well, he's moved this. Okay, right, interesting. But the common goal is that together we're trying to do something for this person that's no longer here.
Yeah.
And that as a kind of a premise for a game is incredible, because I could easily imagine, and there probably is lots of board games out there that are set in this era, probably some that may be kind of classical music related. I could understand, oh yes, we're playing out the life of Mozart if that was a game, or we're wafting in that era of that time. But to have this where, oh no, Mozart's gone, your job is to actually do essentially archive work, right?
Yeah.
But it's not just that. At the bottom of this, you've got this musical stave, and Sam and I are literally thinking, I'm going to take that instrument here with this composer here, or I'm going to perform this composition. And Sam was hilarious because Sam you developed this ability where you would I'm going to buy the rights to perform this. I'm going to perform it, and then I'm going to perform it once, and then I'm just going to sell it.
So I bought the rights to Don Giovanni, probably one of Mozart's most famous operas, along with the Magic Flute, which I also bought. And I performed Don Giovanni once and then just sold it just to get myself around the victory points track. And it was those kind of absolutely like bonkers moments where we were like playing fast and loose with the heritage and the lineage of this great composer, that I just started falling in love with what Lacrimosa does, because on the kind of the whole, it's not doing anything that something like Concordia. So there's area control, there's resource management, there's everything. All the actions you do are played. You can only do an action on your turn if you play a card that has the action. However, unlike Concordia, everything you're doing is framed in this way of Mozart and his death. So the game is structured in a way where you are working on behalf of Mozart's sister, and she's trying to basically compile this legend, this history of Mozart. So alongside that, you are also trying to, as Kris was saying, complete his final piece of work. So the area control part of the game isn't about, oh, I've got the most figures in Rome, so therefore I'm the big bad in it. Is I've got the most timpani drums in this part of the section of Lacrimosa, so therefore my composer that I hired to work on it is the best. Here are my victory points.
Look how many timpani drums I've got.
Like the resource management is different tokens that represent parts of Mozart's life, and you use those tokens to buy pieces of his music, and that allows you to create a little engine. So there's engine building in it again, but unlike in Oh My Goods, where you're processing wool and turning it into coal and then turning coal into iron, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Instead, you're buying pieces of music from Mozart and you're turning that into money, and then you're selling that into essentially like for prestige. And then there's another part of the game where you are, and this is the way that I imagined it in my mind, how we were playing it, is whenever we were playing an action, we were essentially sitting down with Mozart's sister and telling her and sharing her the stories of how we'd interacted with Mozart in our lives. So there's a mechanic in the game where you can send Mozart onto journeys through parts of different areas of Europe, and that's kind of a way that you can easily pick up resources, but it's also a way that you can manage end game stories and manage objectives that you can score at the end of the game. But what it actually does is bring up really nice moments where you can like be, oh, I remember that time that me and Mozart went to go to Paris, and then we had these wonderful adventures together. And I remember this time that we went back to Salzburg and we did this together. And then Kris will tell his little stories about how he went and ventured off to go to do something with old Artsy, as I was calling him by the end.
It didn't stick.
No.
Mechanically, is it doing anything really differently? I don't think so. I think if you played something like Concordia, then you'll be very, very familiar with how this game works mechanically. But the way the game feels, not only to tactically play, but also to like mentally play, like structurally think in your head how these turns are playing out and what's actually happening as you are performing these actions. It's just so interesting and just so narratively vibrant. Like one of my favorite games of all time, Great Western Trail, starts off that way, and it starts off like, here I am with my cows, we're going off to Kansas, oh, nearly bumped into that person there, oh, narrowly missed that, doing a bit of trading, selling my cows. By the end of the fourth or fifth turn, it's just become bare economics and you barely care about your cows anymore. It's just like, yeah, I've got this and this is 30 points, I'm off back to go and get some more cows. However, the trick that Lacrimosa does is from action 1 to the very end, you care about what you're doing and you really care about trying to live the best life for Mozart and to really get across like how great of a person he is. And that is just a tremendous trick for any game to pull off, and really, if you can experience it, you've got to play it.
So who comes next?
I think you decide, Peter Whittington.
Yeah, you decide.
Me decide. I'm going to go to our most festive person, Daniel.
Okay. I have a gift here. Lovely wrapped. I must say the wrapping in this has been excellent. It's beautifully wrapped. Arrived in bubble wrap as well, so top marks.
Well done. Well, what did you ask for, Dan, first?
Oh yeah, I get too excited. I think I do this every year. I get too excited about the presents. I asked for a game/board game/puzzle that I can enjoy with Toby, who's my 5-year-old little boy. So a game that kind of crosses generations that I can enjoy with him. So let's see what my Secret Santa has decided. Ooh, okay. The game I have received is a board game. It is a cooperative whodunit game from Game Right called Outfoxed.
Oh.
So yes, so this I don't know much about this. Has the Oppenheimer Toy Portfolio Best Toy Award. That sticker sat on there. The Platinum Best Toy Award. This looks great. Mrs. Plumpett's prized pot pie has gone missing, and now it's a chicken chase to crack the case. Move around the board gathering clues and then use the special evidence scanner to rule out suspects. You'll have to work together quickly because the guilty fox is hightailing it towards the... I think the fox did it. I think the fox did it.
Yeah.
Guess who?
I mean, I don't need it now. 2 to 4 players, ages 5. This looks fantastic. This looks really fun. Dice. He likes dice. He likes animals. He likes cards. This is going to go down very well, I think.
Sam, I can see you rapidly going on to BGG to find out information about this. What is...
Well, one of the recommended Kinderspiel des Jahres games, which is...
That's actually
prestigious,
really...
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
super
the prestigious German award for specifically Kinderspiel, so children's games. So that's pretty much like a massive seal of approval for a game like this. And Game Right, excellent publisher. And I think, as Kris attests to, if you're introducing board games to anyone, going co-op is sometimes the best.
Yeah, definitely.
The best direction to go to.
Well, yeah, a lot of that. When I play games with him, even games that are meant to be cooperative, often we end up just playing it as a cooperative game, just so like there's no loss, there's no win-lose scenario. It's just kind of let's make up our own end game type thing. So if there's a game where you have to complete a puzzle first, we'll just do it until we've both completed it together, kind of thing. But yeah, so this kind of says that it's about kind of teaches kids about cooperation in games, deductive reasoning. So these are all kind of new age-wise. As I say, it's from 5 and up, so that's from Toby's age and upwards, so it's kind of perfect for him now. Thank you, Santa, or Father Christmas. I never like saying Santa, but it is Secret Santa. So, but thank you very much. This looks absolutely gorgeous.
One of the things, weirdly, that actually makes me feel a bit Christmassy sometimes is going back and playing games that I've played before. Usually, it will be. It's often a platformer. It's often. I mean, it's very usually something that I played before I was 18. So something that was from my childhood. Super Nintendo era, PlayStation era, 64, maybe that kind of period of time. And recently, I received my limited run physical edition.
Oh.
I've been spending too much money on limited run. I'm a sucker.
Yeah.
I'm an absolute sucker for all of that stuff.
You really are.
I really am. And I received the Castlevania Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night double pack, which is those two games on PlayStation 4. I think they're on. No, I think it's only PlayStation 4. I don't think both of those are on Switch yet. Got those. And I've also been playing another Castlevania game that I haven't played before called Aria of Sorrow, talking about lots of musical instruments. And that was on the Game Boy Advance. So new to me, but an old game. So the one that I've put the most time into is Symphony of the Night. And that is the one that really reminds me of Christmas. So I played that one back in the day on the original PlayStation. A wonderful game. Have any of you played it at all? Symphony of the Night?
No, I've never played a Castlevania game.
I've watched the Netflix series.
No, I haven't either.
Have you really watched the Netflix series?
Yeah, my partner got me into it.
Okay, you actually might very well like Symphony of the Night. And the reason is that, for me, it was actually my proper starting point with Castlevania as a series. And I played it back in the day. It was maybe a couple of years after it came out. But the reason I think you would like Symphony of the Night, and the reason that I would recommend that one over any other, starting with any other, is I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I think every Castlevania game before Symphony of the Night is just not nearly as good as that one. So Rondo of Blood comes on the same disc. And if you buy it digitally, I think it's a 2-pack. So you get Rondo of Blood, which is fine. It's okay, but it's very stiff to play. And basically these games they kind of get divided between two different eras. There's the early era, which is the NES era, the PC Engine era, which is essentially a 2D platformer. It's linear. You go from left to right on the screen. It's 2D, as I say, and you power up your way through the game, and then you defeat Dracula at the end. It's a very difficult platformer. Once you jump, you're committed. So there's no floaty jumping like in Mario, for example. Once you jump, you are committed to it. Equally, if you get knocked back, there's no saving yourself from that knockback. And the reason I bring this up is it's very easy to fall off of things. This is a platformer where every single jump really, really matters, right? Like, it's just... Yeah, and I don't think that... I think that a lot of those early games aren't very good by today's standards. At the time, they were really fascinating. And Castlevania 2, I think it was, which I believe was called Simon's Quest. I know.
Simon's Quest.
Simon's
Yeah.
Quest.
It's when you've got Symphony of the Night, it's like George's George's adventure.
Barry's big day out. So,
In Transylvania.
Simon's Quest was kind of a proto, what would eventually become Metroidvanias. And this is really important because the entire genre of the Metroidvania is essentially gets its start properly in Castlevania Symphony of the Night. And that's why it's called a Metroidvania. It takes bits of Metroid, so you have no powers to begin with, you build up all of your powers, they allow you to explore different areas of the space, like the very earliest Metroid games. And the Vania comes from Castlevania Symphony of the Night, I would argue. And that is more about, it's a really large space to go and explore, lots of detail in all of the spaces, really good platforming, and also an RPG-like mechanic whereby you are getting better. So if you hit a load of creatures, you'll get experience, you get higher experience, higher levels, and you become more powerful over time. And it's the first time it really happens in Symphony of the Night, and it is amazing. So you play Alucard. Now, spoilers for anybody who's ever played Dungeons and Dragons back in the not played Dungeons and Dragons back in the day. Alucard is Dracula spelt backwards.
Hang on, I'm just thinking, what's Simon backwards?
And the story itself follows on from the other earlier Castlevania games. Yes, they do have a story. Yes, most of it was in the manuals in the earlier games. But essentially, the whole of Castlevania is about the Belmont clan. So Simon Belmont, Richter Belmont, a bunch of other different Belmonts, and they are vampire killers. And they are essentially, the family is cursed to always be the family that has to defeat Dracula when Dracula appears. Okay. And they've done this throughout time. And so this is the first one where you play from the very beginning. I believe it's the first one where from the very beginning you do not play a Belmont. And it's actually, by playing as Alucard, it's kind of an exploration of a history, a fictional history, for the Castlevania fans that are interested in what happens next, but it's also exploring a history of their previous games. It's a moment where the team that created it essentially drew a line underneath the older games and said, okay, now this is what Castlevania is from here on out, and it is this literally genre defining game that comes along that completely changes the way that we think about those kinds of games. And obviously it would become hugely influential. So games like Hollow Knight, for example, would not exist without Symphony of the Night. It just would not be there. So I went back to it because I was feeling like I wanted to play, like, decompress, and wanted to play something like that was kind of familiar. And so I went back to this PlayStation 4 version, and my God, it's amazing. Like, it's a perfect port. It's absolutely incredible. The pixels are just so sharp, so crisp. Everything looks really great. It's got an amazing set of very smart achievements, so that if you know nothing about Symphony of the Night and some of the incredible things that happen within it, that again are, I don't want to spoil too many of them, but a really good example of this is a lot of games at the time would have like a percentage complete. So like, hey, this is how much of the game that you've beaten. There is an achievement that is related to that, and the achievement is receive 206% completion. And the reason that's really important is because there is actually a part of the game in which you think that you're right towards the end and you realise you are not. And it's brilliant, and I won't spoil too much of it for you. But those achievements are really clever because they basically set out a lot of the really interesting things that the game does that's kind of hidden away, that you have to kind of go and find out for yourself. We'll go and spoil it all for yourself on a walkthrough. And absolutely amazing. And it also brings with it everything that I think is really good about a port. It's really smooth. The whole thing, I mean, obviously it's available on modern consoles. Boots up fast. It's cheap. So if you want to get an original copy of Symphony of the Night, good luck. I think when I sold mine, this was like just in the third year of university, so many years ago now. I think it was £200 I got for it. It's now worth a lot more. So if you want to play it, digitally is definitely the way to go, unless you go and grab a limited run version of it. And I've forgotten how tight and meticulous the whole thing is. There is, when you play like Nintendo games and you get how much love has been just jammed into every single bit of it. Like, you go and play Mario Odyssey, for example, and you can't move 5 feet without finding something really cool and something that delights you, that kind of. Well, Castlevania Symphony of the Night is the same. Every single room that you go into will have some kind of unique, beautiful pixel art in it, and some of the best pixel art you will ever see. There are incidental animations in the game that you might see once throughout your entire playthrough, and they are just phenomenal. All of the enemy design is really, really thoughtful. All of the boss design is very smart. There is a a boss in the game which is absolutely haunting. Even as a 2D pixel art game, it is unbelievably disturbing. And the first time that I beat the thing, it genuinely sat with me for a very long time. The platforming, the puzzle of working your way through the environment, the designers, you can just feel the designers going, very clever, but we've thought of you trying to break the game like that.
Yeah.
Really smart. And it's one of those things that I think is different from all of the other Castlevania games in that it still holds up. I think that Symphony of the Night is the first one where I think it's the earliest you can go back to without sort of pulling down some slightly rose-tinted glasses. Like Rondo of Blood is on the same thing, and it's very obvious that it's earlier in that there isn't the fluidity of movement. There isn't the... Yeah, it's a well-made game, but it's a well-made game from earlier and not really attempting to do all that much different and interesting. Whereas Symphony of the Night is, from a historical perspective and just from a pure gameplay perspective, it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful.
If you've not played, so like myself, I've not played a Castlevania game before, but I've played obviously Metroidvania games.
Yes.
So I do have an interest in the genre. Do you think Symphony of the Night is a good place to begin, or would you recommend something like Ritual of the Night, Bloodstained, as being a more modern
creator.
entry?
Yeah.
So same creator, but being a more modern entry to the series.
So I've not played that one, but I would say that if you were to start here, because it is the one that begins it all, you will see tons of amazing ideas that some of them got continued in other games that would come later, either within Castlevania or outside of the series, and some of them just didn't. Like some of the ideas just got forgotten about and were just implemented in that. I think that the first 15 minutes of the game is probably some of the hardest that you'll play. Like 10-15 minutes of the game is probably some of the hardest Metroidvania that you'll play, especially when you're Alucard. And I think that might put people off for that first 15 minutes. But I think once you've got your first couple of deaths out of the way and restarted, because obviously, start again, I think as soon as that happens, you get into the swing of what this game wants you to do. And that is understand the layout of the castle, understand what all of the enemies can do, and fight your way tooth and nail through it to level up, to become more powerful, so that when you come back here in a few hours' time, it's just it's a cakewalk. And I do think that it is good enough, as in I don't think the genre has evolved enough that it's unrecognizable, right? I think if you were to go earlier than Symphony of the Night, if you were to go and play Simon's Quest, for example, you could see moments of Metroidvania and go, oh, that's really interesting. But it would be like playing the latest copy of FIFA and then going back and trying to play Sensible Soccer, for example. Like, you would realize how much of a difference there is, right, between those two things. So yeah, I personally think if you know the genre at all, and you haven't played it, oh my goodness me, like, this is a history lesson. It's incredible. It's some of it's 15-16 hours of some of the best Metroidvania that you'll ever play. But if you've never played one of those kinds of games and you thought, oh, okay, I would quite like to play a game along those kinds of lines, I think this is a great place to start. Who's next, Dan?
Okay, I think next is going to be Christopher.
Awesome. It's me. Hello, I won. Okay, so I asked from Father Christmas if I could have something to assemble at my kitchen table that gives me that zen-like feeling of doing a jigsaw or Lego. I really like that feeling of doing something with my hands at the table. Little bit of Foley. So let's jump in, shall we? And I've got a lovely notebook here, a Clairefontaine blue notebook, with a lovely printed card on it that says, check your email. Okay, so I've got an email from Santa that says, Season's greetings, Christopher. Spelt my name wrong, but it's okay.
That's right. You can do the voice.
On this fine Christmas occasion, I'm delighted to present you with a gift for this splendid day.
Yeah.
You asked for Lego or a jigsaw or something to give you a zen-like state of mind, so I've got the elves working and put together a somewhat more abstract idea. I hope you like it. In your hands,
Build your own Lego.
Yeah. Imagine your own Lego. No, in your hands you will find a small journal, and your gift this year is to turn this journal into a unique artifact through the solo RPG game Field Guide to Memory.
Ooh.
Created by Yeon Shim and Xingyi Ko as a live game across the space of 20 days, Field Guide to Memory is a narrative journaling game where you build your own journal through personal entries and correspondence. This game can now be taken at completely your own pace at the kitchen table, but also encourages you to explore real-world nature, incorporating this into your narrative. Hopefully this relaxed time frame and the exploration of the natural world will provide you with the zen-like experience you desire. If not, let me know, and I'll send you through a box of Lego. To collect your gift, click here. Merry Christmas, Santa.
I tell you what. If the publishers of that are listening to this, if they end up doing another Kickstarter for something, I would suggest that this is the voice of your trailer.
Yeah,
basically.
So thank you. Santa's just sent me a WeTransfer link, so I'm just downloading it
Santa
now.
often does.
Good old Santa.
He really is everywhere all of the time, isn't he?
I know.
Yeah.
No expense spared. I love this sort of thing. It's a little bit like you, Dan, with the advent calendars. It's this little treasure hunt I've got now. I love the presentation, the kind of the knotted string here, the twine, and the printed card. That is gorgeous. What a beautiful object art. Because I love journaling RPGs. We've done artifacts. 1,000-Year-Old Vampire, which you've spoken about on the pod before. This is great. So it is literally like Santa said. So over a series of days, I'm going to work my way through this kind of framework where this book will become not just a book full of writing, but drawings, artifacts, and objects that I will find, all responding to like different frames of reference and different sets of instructions. Oh my word, this looks lovely. Oh, there's like newspaper clippings. Oh wow, it's like a full-on artifact. This is great. Oh, thank you very much, Santa. So this is a field guide to memory from Yi Yong Shim and Xingyin Ko. That looks fantastic. I look forward to cracking on with that because I haven't actually. I finished that solo RPG and I've not carried on with another one. So this will be the one I will start come 2023. Thank you. And I look forward to reporting back in a year's time, like I did with Coffee Talk, as to how I'm getting on with this. Did any of you see on Disney Plus the other day, Marvel have been doing these special feature presentations? They've done.
Oh yeah.
They did Werewolf by Night, which was okay. And
yeah, just don't have the time for all this content, Chris.
I know, coming at you thick and fast, particularly now as you and I, Sam, have moved on to high art with Mozart and Lacrimosa.
It's true. I mean, like, you know, we used to cover everything on this show, and the fact that we've not actually talked about Wakanda Forever is, I don't think it's a detriment to the film, which I actually really enjoyed, but it's just so much.
Yeah.
And, like, I just feel like, especially with this, like, I don't really know what this extra Marvel content is for. Like, I know that they've tried to justify it in a way, and James Gunn has come out and said that the Guardians holiday special, you've got to watch it. You've got to watch it, or else Guardians 3 won't make any sense. Like, it's got some crucial like bits. I don't want to be hoodwinked into just enjoying part of my evening. Thank you, James.
No, not at all. No, I get the sense these special feature presentations are what the old Marvel one-shots used to be. Do you remember back in the day where you used to get those little 5-6 minute things? These seem to be no more than like 45 minutes. As I said, we had Werewolf by Night that Michael Giacchino directed. This one is the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, which I think in part was a kind of a riff off the Star Wars Holiday Special of old, which I never saw.
Yeah. So I mean, I know there is lineage, and I know there is like history of doing it, but yeah, come on, is it worth my time, my precious minutes on this earth.
Well, I've seen it. Has anyone else watched the
I have seen it. Yes, we watched it on the weekend.
Yeah, it's kind of, it is obviously, I think they've talked about the fact that it is a kind of a riff and using the kind of the Star Wars holiday special from a long time ago as kind of as an inspiration point. And I think over here in the UK, we've probably got a bit more of a closer connection with the kind of the genre of the Christmas special. Like, I did have a look online to see kind of like I couldn't think of any like American Christmas specials really, like of American shows that I liked. And when I was
Only
looking for
cartoons.
them, the only things that were really coming up were kind of like just Christmas episodes within a series. So it'd be like, oh, this is the Friends Christmas special. I'm like, well, no, it's not. It's just a normal Friends episode, just happens to be set at Christmas. And I don't think they have the same kind of tradition that we have, at least kind of on a regular basis, of the Christmas special. So we have like most years we've got the Doctor Who Christmas special. Years ago we'd have every year Only Fools and Horses, stuff like The Office and Extras. Both of them had their final big series finale as a big Christmas special. It was kind of a real kind of,
It was an event.
yeah, it was like a proper like event kind of thing that you would have in, and like series would look at, we want to do, and it's a special thing to do a Christmas special. It's not just another episode that happens. Like, you'll watch certain shows and you'll have a Christmas episode and you'll have a Halloween episode and you'll have a Thanksgiving episode, and that's just the theme of a specific episode. Whereas these were different. Sometimes they were longer in length and they did all this different stuff. And watching the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, it does play out in that same way. It does play out very similar to your Doctor Who Christmas specials and your Only Fools and Horses, where it's perhaps a longer length than a regular episode that it would have been. And obviously we're looking at kind of the films and stuff, but in terms of like a half an hour show extended, it is. And you have like one story which extends. Often it's not a massive story because they need to be all wrapped up in a 45-minute slot. It does play out like the Christmas specials that we know. And I don't think that's naturally to its detriment, but I think it is important to know what it is. And the point you make there, Sam, of you didn't want to feel hoodwinked into watching it. If I hadn't heard that had been said, that you needed to watch this if you wanted to know what's going to happen going forward, if you want to understand it, like, you don't. Like, there are one or two small but significant plot points, but like, I could tell you those and that's it. Like, it's you're not going to miss anything major. The kind of the premise of the special is basically the character of Peter Quill, Star-Lord, is still, we kind of pick them up. The premise of the episode is we kind of pick them up after Endgame and after Thor: Love and Thunder. Gamora is still lost, and Peter Quill is still quite depressed about that. And so, as a way of trying to cheer him up, Drax and Mantis decide, they find out this thing called Christmas and decide to cheer him up. They want to get him the best Christmas present they could possibly think of, which is Kevin Bacon. And that's the premise. It's a funny premise. It's a Christmas special premise. That's all it is. And then kind of what happens, you end up with a lot of situations of kind of sketch comedy. Let's put some characters in awkward positions and let's see what happens. Those two characters in particular have always been kind of fish out of water characters, even in their own environment. Like Drax with his kind of literal take on everything, and then Mantis with her kind of confusion about not understanding kind of the social cues. Those have always felt fish out of water, so they are the natural things to kind of take away from the Guardians environment and say, okay, let's pop them in another world and let's watch them have fun. But the problem is it kind of just plays out like that. And if you're expecting a Christmas special, that's fine. But if you're expecting Guardians 2.5, that's not what you're going to get. So it is a problem if they're kind of trying to sell it like that. I hadn't heard that. I just watched it because it came on. And I was like, this will be fun. It's only 45 minutes. It's not too much of my time. And it's kind of throwaway. It's kind of frothy. It's kind of like candy floss. It's there and then it's gone. It was fun while it was there, but I'm not going to watch it again. It's not something I'm going to go back to every year as a Christmas tradition, because it's not. But it was well done for what it was.
So who's it for?
If you're halfway through a bottle of Baileys, it's like it is like
That's who's it for.
yeah. Like I think I don't know. It's really weird because
Are you gonna like we talked about like some of the things that get us Christmassy. Is anyone really gonna sit down every single year and go, all right, now it's the time. Right, we've watched Home Alone, we've watched National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, we've watched Scrooge.
Daddy, can we watch it?
Can we watch the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas? Because that's really what, like,
We're
when
playing
Dan, when you're talking
Castlevania,
about,
son.
like, yeah, like, when you talk about those Christmas specials that we have in this country, like, the reasons why they have such lineage is that you can watch them every Christmas, and people do,
and they're on
always
television
on, they're always
every
repeated,
Christmas,
and they're on television every single Christmas.
Yeah.
So for me to have any sort of like for any sort of what's the word, for it to have any sort of
staying power,
for calling itself and to earn the right to call itself a Christmas special, it's got to be something that every Christmas I'll sit and watch Kevin Bacon being kidnapped.
No, not at all.
I mean, it does have. I'd agree that I wouldn't like. It's not something that you're going to watch every year. It doesn't have that that element that grabs you for that. I mean, it is Christmassy.
Mm-hmm.
It does have that sense, and it like a lot of these, especially something like a Doctor Who, which kind of plays on themes of Christmas in terms of how it tells its story. It does do that, and it looks at, okay, what does kind of Christmas mean? How can we bring that into this world that we've created? And it does do that, but it doesn't have enough that makes me want to go, okay, yes, brilliant. It's made me feel really Christmassy. And so I want to watch it next year. As I say, you stuff like The Office and Extras. I will watch those again just by themselves. I don't have to have watched the previous 2 series in order to be able to enjoy it. I can watch that by itself, and it's a very, very, very good piece of television. This is fun while it's on, but then it's kind of gone. And you kind of talk about the fact that there's so much content. Like, for me, as I was watching it, I was accepting the fact that it is what it was. It was a Christmas special, and that was fine. I wasn't expecting necessarily anything else. But it just really cemented me. It was like the final puzzle piece of this whole post-Endgame period, where up until that point, perhaps Endgame and kind of Far From Home, there was a structure, it was clear, it was concise, it was a set of movies, standalone, which told a story, each told a story, and then overarching story was told. And that was like clear and understanding, and you could go through it. After that, because they've factored in the series, some longer, some shorter, some episodic like She-Hulk, some very much lengthy, something like Loki, which was very much a one long story. Even something like WandaVision was kind of a little bit of both. It was both episodic and kind of ongoing narrative. They've seemingly ticked every single box of things that they could do. And now this kind of my thought was, it's like the one shots, as if the one shots like the Hail to the King and all the stuff around the Agent Coulson character, like it's almost like they were just like testing the waters with those to see would people be interested in watching smaller form ideas on lesser characters. Because in terms of the Guardians of the Galaxy, you've got, taking out Drax and Mantis are 2 of the lesser characters. They're not the main characters of that group. That's your Gamora and your Quill. Those are the lead roles in that. So you're taking the smaller characters and focusing on them. So in doing that, like I don't think there's any genres of that they can really go to now. It is the very last one. So you now have this bloated mass of content, which is very difficult to pick apart. And it's very difficult to kind of, okay, I need to watch this and this and this. It makes it very, very difficult to comprehend the wider story. Whereas previously, it was very clear. And I think that's where people have had so much problems with it. And this was, for me, just that final thing that said, okay, kind of a full stop. We've reached the zenith of what we can do. And so we're just going to go around in circles now.
Yeah, it ticks a lot of those kinds of boxes, and it is quite sweet. You know, there are moments which are kind of nice and quite touching in there. It really hits you in the feels. But is it an essential viewing? No. I would like Sam to go next, please.
Oh, me? Here we go. My request was simple. I wanted a video game that I have not played with an incredible soundtrack. Asterisk, in your opinion. So here we go. A red envelope. And open it up. It's a Secret Santa on the rear. Right. It is a card from emotionalrescue.com. And it's got a man in a green jumper and a red hat, a bit like Dan's. And he's a bit like Pete is going to do. He's drawing something on a table with some black ink, and he's drawing an F and drawing a U and drawing a bit of a C. And the caption says, Christmas Eve, and Norbert began preparing his traditional welcome sign for the local carol singers. There we go. Bit of Christmas cheer there. To Sam. We're inside the card now. To Sam. It's me, Santa. Merry Christmas. Your Secret Santa, again, that's me, has bought you Cult of the Lamb on Steam. Ooh. And then there's a load of numbers and letters. Enjoy. Fantastic. Well, brilliant. Let me I'll just have to see if it's Steam Deck verified.
He was a bit more laconic with you than he was with me.
No, yeah, this is incredible, and I'll be really interested, obviously, in the soundtrack, because that's what I was actually exceptionally interested in, because this year has been, for me, the year of incredible video game soundtracks. Mace Combat 7 to Tunic, probably the best thing about that game. That has been like something that's really, really stood out for me today. Actually, I started playing Prey on my Steam Deck recently.
Which one?
The one from Arcane.
Okay.
And yeah, that soundtrack is also incredible, and the game's pretty damn decent as well. But yes.
So, Cult of the Lamb, Sam. It's River Boy is the name of the composer.
Oh,
I've not played it. The soundtrack is incredible, from what Alex tells me. So she's just finished it, and if you imagine. The best way of summing it up is imagine the kind of soundtrack that might happen if you were to cross something like Animal Crossing with the sort of the Jonestown Massacre.
Oh well, I understand there's lots of poo in it as well.
There's also a fair amount of poo.
Yeah.
Was that one of the things you put as your requirement, Sam, and you just forgot to mention just then?
I think people just take that as read these days. Shall we finish this episode with a short Christmas quiz, which I've just put together while you've been talking?
Oh my word, Sam.
So it's just 2 questions. I'm going to give you the titles of 3 Christmas specials, and I want you to tell me which one isn't real.
Okay.
Lay it on me.
So you've got The A-Team Saves Christmas, Grumpy Cat's Worst Christmas Ever, or Christmas Comes to Pac-Land. And the Pac-Land it's referring to is...
Wait, apart from the A-Team...
Pac-Man.
If the A-Team one is fake, right, then I'll be really upset.
Yeah, because I want to watch that.
Okay.
That sounds brilliant. The other 2 sound...
Pete, I'm planning to come to you after Christmas. Shall we watch one of these?
If the A-Team, no, you know, if the A-Team one is real, you and I are going to sit.
We're going to watch that. Yeah.
Thing. Let me tell you, if the Pac-Land one is real, I'm going to be so annoyed because they keep trying to make Pac-Man have a narrative, and I hate it. It is genuinely one of my pet peeves in all of games that Namco seems to think we care about the deep lore of Pac-Man.
Right, okay, Pete. Get you, okay, cool. So, Sam, so 2 of those are real?
2 of those are real, one of them's fake.
Gosh, I've got to go for the A-Team just for sheer belief that if I believe it, the universe will give me the ultimate gift.
Yes,
I think the A-Team is false.
Dan,
I think there is a Pac-Man in a Christmas.
I hope that the A-Team is real. I think the false one has got to be Grumpy Cat. Worst Christmas ever. I just can't.
That sounds real to me because there's a touch of irony there, because that's got a story of redemption, hasn't it, really? Or the other way around. It's like Blackadder's Christmas Carol, where he starts off really nice and becomes a bastard by the end of it. The Pac-Man's not real.
I'm saying the A-Team isn't real.
Okay.
The Grumpy Cat's not real.
Very helpful.
Okay, so the odd one out was A-Team Saves Christmas.
I told you.
Oh, that's ruined my Christmas.
I know my Christmas stuff. I'm the only one here in a Santa hat. Come on.
I'm really bummed out now.
I'm really...
Right, I've got one more. So out of these 3, which one is not the real Christmas special?
Nothing matters anymore.
Yeah.
The X-Files How the Ghost Stole Christmas?
No. No. No.
No, but they did have some weird episodes. They'd have those really funny offbeat ones that were just a little bit off kilter, where it wasn't told from their perspective.
Go on, say the rest.
Okay, The Junkies Christmas or Knight Rider's Christmas Miracle?
Okay. I don't know what. What's the Junkies?
The Junkies Christmas is an actual Christmas special about a junkie, someone addicted to opioids, and their Christmas. So think the Train Spotting Christmas special.
That's not real. That's not real. There's no.
I'm going
way
with
that
Knight
that's real.
Rider.
Dan, don't.
I'm saying that Knight Rider is not real. I think that X-Files is real and Junkies Christmas is real. So I'm saying that Knight Rider is the odd one out. Is anyone else going to guess?
Anyone else making guesses?
I'm going to say. I mean, I'm so crushed by the A-Team. I don't know what to believe anymore.
Yeah,
The Knight Rider one isn't a real one.
Pete?
The one that isn't real is the junkie one. I cannot believe that human beings have stooped that low.
Of course they have.
So the Christmas special, which is not real, is Knight Rider's Christmas
Oh,
Miracle.
what?
I told you, don't mess with me. I've got a jumper and a hat. I am Christmas.
If only we could somehow use these powers for good, Dan.
Once a year, I get them.
Both of those would be perfect.
And there we go. Here's Junkies Christmas.
No, I don't. Yeah, I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, of course we are.
Well, that's Christmas ruined. So thanks for that, sir.
That's all right. I'm just bringing you the specials that everyone wanted.
And we all got what we wanted.
Yes.
Yes, we did. We did. Except for now, for next year, I want an A-Team Christmas special. That's what I want. And a Knight Rider one. A-Team meets Knight Rider. Oh, what a crossover.
We'll
that
make
would
it.
be.
Well, if you want to make our Christmas special, then why not get in touch with us through this holiday period? No matter how you're celebrating, no matter what you're doing, who you're with, we'll still be here in some capacity online. And you can find us at Staying In Pod pretty much everywhere. Twitter, or whatever it's called now.
Don't.
Instagram, Facebook. We're all there.
All the places.
Staying In Pod.
Also, right. And here's the thing. Okay, and this is what we're asking you to do. Okay, so everyone's gathered around the fire. Everyone's sharing presents. Listener, what you need to do is when you've got the family and friends all around you, say, "Yeah, great, Aunt. That's fantastic." Anyway, has anyone heard about the Staying In podcast? Now, if you just do that at your big family gathering, tell them how much you love listening to this nonsense every couple of weeks. That would really you'd do us a huge favor. You know, that's called
absolutely.
viral marketing, folks. And you can be a part of this Christmas.
What a gift to give some. What is a more greater gift to give a loved one at Christmas time?
Yeah. Than an ad read.
Yes. And if you want to send us a question, then of course you can do either of the places that we've already mentioned in terms of Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, or you can send us an email, stayinginpod@gmail.com. And at this time of year, as we've demonstrated in this show, it's very difficult buying gifts, even when people tell us exactly what it is that they want. So if you are struggling with a gift for someone that you love or a family member, then you can go to our Board Game Geek curated pages or our Steam curated pages, where we've listed everything on there that we've spoken about, video or board game related. So if you're looking for something and you're not quite sure if the person in your life will enjoy what it is, then you can have a little list of stuff that we talked about. If something catches your eye, you can get sent straight to that particular episode, hear us whittering on about it and go, yep, that's perfect for Cousin Brian.
Tell them we sent you.
And if you've got any recommendations for us, if there's something that you either maybe have got for Christmas or you've seen or anything like that, like, please send that through, and we'd love to hear kind of what your recommendations are as well. Because obviously we don't always see everything, so it's always nice when someone points you in the right direction. like we try to do for other people. So yeah, you can do that for us, and we'd love to have a look at those as well.
Yeah, and thank you to Devir Cosmos for sending us a wonderful copy of Lunar Capital and Lacrimosa.
Thank you very much. That's made my Christmas. Kris has put some Spotify playlists together. I don't know if they're Christmas appropriate, but it's a conversation starter. Turn it off. Turn it up. What the hell have you put on again, John? It's going to get the family going, so it's worth it.
Who's
All
John?
the details are in the show.
Guaranteed floor fillers, everyone.
Right. Okay.
It's Christmas.
That'll do.
All right then.
All right.